Hello, I'm Mike May, and welcome to Conversations. And today we're going to have a conversation with Kenny Sullivan, whom I met just a few months ago. And I'm going to throw it over to you. So, who are you? Where do you come from?
Where do I come from?
Who are you?
I come from New Jersey originally. I was born and raised in New Jersey. My parents were both educators, Christian household, and pretty simple upbringing. I have one older brother who's 4 years older than I am, and we had a pretty simple upbringing. We went to church every Sunday, and parents were constantly instilling education in us since my mom was a teacher, my dad was a principal.
So you didn't get any slack at all?
No, there was no slack. It was, but they didn't put a lot of pressure on us. I think as kids, my brother and I were pretty straight arrow when it came to school, so we just did what we were supposed to do. There weren't any really big problems. They didn't have to hound us to get stuff done. And so that was pretty much my upbringing. I had friends. We grew up, I grew up mostly in Bergen County, New Jersey, which is really close to New York City. So I was just minutes away from the George Washington Bridge.
Okay, so yeah, because I'm not that familiar with that, but okay, near New York City. Okay, that's as close as I'm going to get.
Near New York City, yeah, and very diverse neighborhood, Teaneck, New Jersey. We moved there because we had come from a not so diverse neighborhood where my brother and I had experienced some, racist, derogatory remarks in school and outside of school, and brother had been in a couple of fights, and so had I. Yeah. So my parents decided to move someplace a little bit more diverse, closer to New York City. So we did, and Teaneck was a great place to grow up. So. Okay,
so now you finished high school in Teaneck?
Yep.
Okay, then and Teaneck. Who would name a place Teaneck? But anyway, I'll have to look that up.
I think it's an Indian name, like a lot of places in this area of the country. I believe it is a Native American name originally. Yeah.
Huh, and it just got translated into Teaneck.
I think that's actually the name.
Huh, really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Huh.
Yeah.
Anyway. So after Teaneck, so you finished Teaneck.
Right, yeah. So graduated Teaneck High School, and I went to college in Atlanta, Georgia, Morehouse College, which is, some would know, is the alma mater of Martin Luther King Jr. And some other notable people, Samuel L. Jackson and others.
Sullivan.
Kenny Sullivan.
Kenny Sullivan.
Yeah. And I was a biology major, so I studied biology. Yeah, I wanted to be a doctor when I was young.
Okay, so physician, that's what you were shooting for, a physician?
I was shooting to be a physician.
Any particular branch? Or
I really wanted to go into oncology, so I wanted to study cancer.
Wow, yeah.
Was looking forward to doing a lot of medical research, things of that nature. And then in the summer of my junior year in college, I had the privilege of studying at the University of Medicine and Dentistry in New Jersey, which is a teaching hospital. And I was preparing to take the MCAT.
Now, what's MCAT?
The MCAT is the medical college admissions test that you have to pass in order to be accepted into a medical school.
So now you're going from oncology maybe into dentistry, is that it?
No, I was actually still in college preparing to go to medical school, where I would probably study generally just medical arts, and then I would specify probably at the end of medical school. But I never got there because while I was at the University of Medicine and Dentistry in New Jersey, we had the opportunity to shadow doctors, and I started shadowing some doctors and residents, and I came to realize that I didn't want their life. I didn't want to do that. And so it was a blow to my mom when I said, after years and years of saying that I wanted to be a doctor, I said, I I don't want to be a doctor anymore.
I knew someone in high school as a young woman who was the sweetest, brightest, most thoughtful, kind, hardworking, and she always wanted to be a nurse.
Right.
And you thought, wow, this is the because she's smart, she's hardworking, she's sharp, and she's such a kind thought, and she's going to be a great nurse. So she finished, and I don't know if she took any courses, but like she started like the first week of rotation or something, and quit after a week because she found being around sick people made her so depressed, she couldn't function, and she was. Now she went into office work or something, but that was. So what about their life that you didn't want?
The people that I shadowed during that summer did not seem like they had a lot of time for family.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure that there are ways to navigate that, but I was thinking about what I would be doing in my future, and I saw myself kind of going along the same lines as the folks that I was shadowing. And it just didn't sit well with me. And it was a time where I was really actually getting back in touch with God. I'd gotten saved when I was 9, and I had strayed away from God when my father died at age 12. When I was 12, my father died.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Thank you. And he was very big influence on my life. And so I just really, it was hurtful. And so I did stray away from the Lord. And it wasn't until my sophomore year in college where I actually had an experience where I was really struggling in my identity because I wasn't performing at the level that I wanted to perform. And I was really struggling with this and very depressed. And I had an encounter with God one day where, I just really felt Him ministering to me, speaking to me.
This was in Morehouse?
This was at Morehouse College.
Yeah.
And it really just changed my whole perspective, because I felt that because I wasn't performing at the level that I did in high school, and I wasn't, the smart kid anymore, I felt as though it was, I was worthless. And I was really struggling to figure out who I was. And it took Jesus actually coming and speaking to me to know that I had value. And so I was making decisions around this time, realizing that, I didn't want to go to medical school. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Now, this is like your junior year in college?
My junior year.
Okay, yeah.
And I was doing remarkably better. I mean, after that encounter, I was on the dean's list. I was, getting A's and really killing it in college. And then I graduated, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But the one thing I did know was that I wanted to pursue that Jesus that met me my sophomore year. I wanted to pursue the one that told me that I had value. I wanted to know more about Him. And so I left Morehouse, came back to New Jersey.
You left without graduating?
No, I graduated.
Okay.
I graduated on time.
With a degree in?
I graduated with a degree in biology.
Biology. So you got
I got my biology degree.
You got your biology
it's
degree.
Not really worth much if you're not either a doctor or a professor. And so I did come back home. I found a job. I kind of wavered and waffled a little bit.
Now, what was the job?
My first job was working at AT&T Wireless.
So biology really helped you?
Biology helped me get an AT&T Wireless job, and then I finally landed a job in a laboratory.
Oh, okay.
A biomedical engineering lab.
All right, something.
Yeah, so I was able to get into my field a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and which was good.
What did you Did you
So this
change
particular
DNA or what?
No, this was biomedical engineering. So this particular company was Becton Dickinson, which is noted for their needles and for something called Vacutainer, when you get your blood collected either at the hospital or Quest or some place where they collect your blood, they use these little tubes. You've seen them with different colors on the top, and they pretty much suck your blood out of
So they manufacture those things?
Becton Dickinson, the company I worked for, manufactures those vacutainer tubes. They also make needles, and part of my role was to in research and development. I did testing on needles for safety. So we did these safety design needles.
One of the times, this was, maybe before I was going to I had to go have a blood sample taken, and I went somewhere, and there's lots of people coming in and out, and I'm just waiting, and I hear Michael May, and I look up, and here's this tall, skinny guy, very, very pale skinned, very, very dark hair. Will you come with me, please? And I go, great. And he goes, okay, I'm here to take your blood. And I go, and I'm going, he was Slavic or something. I've got Dracula taking my blood here. And then I thought, well, gee, if I want someone to take blood, this would be the guy.
He'd be the right guy.
This would be the guy to do it. So you were working on the equipment.
I was working on not the vacutainers, but I was working on the needles.
Okay, so.
And so our goal as a needle manufacturer was to have the sharpest needle that caused the least amount of pain.
Okay.
So that's what we worked on: needle sharpness and safety.
Well,
so
that's the needed.
Yeah.
Now, so how long did you do that?
I did that for about 8 years before I went into teaching.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you went into
teaching. So I started out teaching 5th grade, and then eventually.
Well, by the way, this means you had to go back to school and get certified and do.
Actually, one of the great things about most of our states in the Northeast now is that they have alternate routes to teaching.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So since I was, I had a degree in the sciences, I just needed to take a few tests and also go through a program so that I could teach in public school.
Well, let me tell you, because I taught for a long time.
Yeah.
And let me say, us old school people do resent you a little bit.
I believe
because
it.
we had to, well, you've got to take this course, and you've got to take that course, and you've got to take this course to be able to teach, and then you've got to go here, you've got to go there, and then be able to teach. You've done all that? Good. Finally, now you can teach. Oh, look, here's Ken. You got a degree in biology? Quick, run to that room and start teaching, and here's all the money. Well, how come he doesn't have to do that? Well, we changed the rules. Okay, but good for you. I'm sure you did a good job. So you're teaching biology.
I was teaching 5th grade.
5th grade? Oh, just 5th grade, yeah.
Yeah, so I taught 5 subjects.
Oh, that's right, yeah. You have to do everything.
And I hated it.
Oh, dear, so you're 2 for 2
terrible.
for things. Yeah,
it was terrible. So I actually was blessed to meet somebody while I was teaching 5th grade, and they recommended me in TNEC. There was a position opening up for a 7th grade science teacher.
7th grade science. Okay, what we'll do, we just want to take a short break, and then we'll come back with your stumbling career here. Things are going. Okay, so we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to Conversations with Kenny Sullivan. Now, Kenny, we left off with medicine didn't work, biology didn't work, teaching wasn't working, but now you were teaching 5th grade. Oh, that's right, you're teaching all the subjects, but then you got to teach science, because that's your
7th
background.
grade science,
okay,
yes.
So now you're back in TNEC.
Yeah,
and
so
that's where
I'm
you
back
grew
in
up.
TNEC where I grew up, teaching at the middle school that I went to in the classroom where I learned 7th grade science.
No, really? Yeah. Oh, good grief.
Yep.
That must have been weird.
It was. It was a little strange at first, but it was cool. It's amazing how God can bring you full circle in some ways. Mm-hmm. That was the same classroom that I was in when. Well, the only classroom that I remember when my father died, I was in 7th grade.
Oh, yeah.
So that I remember being in that room.
Yeah. Huh.
I remember my locker was right outside of the door. It was just a lot of stuff that brought me full circle. My mom was sick during that time, and so another blessing was that it allowed me to be close to home. To
So
my
she was
mom.
still in Teaneck.
She was still in Teaneck. She had
Okay.
retired after a bout with leukemia.
Oh, yeah.
And so she was receiving home care, and I was able to be close to her for those years, which I didn't know, but would be the final years of her life while I was teaching
I see.
7th grade. So it was a great blessing. So I taught 7th grade science for 3 years.
3 years, okay.
And then during that time, I met my wife. We had dated. We had gotten married. She is from Connecticut. She moved to New Jersey, where in Teaneck, my high school chemistry teacher was superintendent and actually help her get an interview.
Oh.
So that she was able to have a job in Teaneck. So we worked together in Teaneck for 2 years.
Oh, okay. Now, I'm going to back you up a little bit. Now, how did you, I know this story a little bit. Now, how did you meet her?
It was a really interesting story. We met online. We met on eHarmony. And she was on eHarmony because of an elder that was in her church who had actually found his wife after many, many years. He found his wife and soulmate through eHarmony and highly recommended it. And so she got on, and she was on eHarmony for several months. Unbeknownst to me, I, in New Jersey, would meet a pastor who was coming to our church for revival services, which is, just a series of evening church services to kind of get us back in line with the mission of God. And so during those revival meetings, one of those meetings, we went out to a diner after the meeting, and I'm sitting with this guy whose name was Reverend Lamb, and we're talking, a bunch of us are talking and eating soup and drinking coffee, and he was from North Carolina, and he says to me, Brother Kenny, have you ever tried out that eHarmony.com? And I said, I've heard of it, Reverend. He said, I think you should try that out. And 15 minutes pass, and we're telling jokes and having a great time, and he turns to me again, and he says, Brother Kenny, have you ever tried out that eHarmony.com? And I said, I've heard of it. Seems like it's a good thing. He said, I think you should try that out. And a few minutes later, we're out in the parking lot, and we're saying goodbye, and he says, Brother Kenny.
Did he buy stock in this or something? Or?
No, but he was actually, it was really interesting. He was in town doing our revival meetings, but on the weekend, he was going to marry a couple from a friend of the daughter-in-law and son of a friend that he knew in the area. He was going to be performing the wedding, and that son that he knew met his wife on eHarmony.com.
Well, great,
And so he recommends this thing three times to me. And the last time while we're saying goodbye, he says, are you going to try it out? And I said, I think I'm going to try it out tonight. So I signed up, and it was very expensive. And I told the Lord, there was a 7-day free trial. And I told God, I said, you got 7 days. You know my finances. You got 7 days to make this happen. And so within a couple of days, my wife, Keisha, her name was in my box, and I saw her, and she was an educator, and she was from Connecticut, and beautiful smile, and just really warm, and I was like, I need to get to know this young lady, and so that was the beginning, and we dated, and then we got
But now
married.
you told me eHarmony does something funny. You can't meet for a while or something?
Yeah, eHarmony used to do something really interesting where you actually aren't able to communicate openly with the person that you're matched with. And so we had to do things like send questions to one another, like, what are your likes and dislikes? And I would answer the questions, and then she would answer the questions, and we would exchange the answers.
So they were your chaperone.
They chaperoned
you for a while.
the courting process. Yeah.
How long did that go on?
That went on for about a month, and then we got each other's email address.
Now,
we had open communication within the website, and then weeks later we got each other's email address.
But that's eHarmony. So they say a month? Are they the ones who put a month?
Well, they put on the restrictions they put on were how far along you were in their chaperoning process. So once you complete it, if that's a week, if it's 2 weeks, whatever, So once
Okay.
you complete it, you can move into more open communication.
Okay.
But I hear that they don't do that anymore.
Okay.
So-
Huh.
But it was good for us. It actually, we learned so much about each other.
Yeah.
Before we even met.
Oh, well.
And
okay.
we're still married, so it was
Okay.
great.
How long has that been?
14 years.
14 years. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay. So now you got married in Teaneck.
We got married in Ridgewood, which is where my home church was.
Okay.
So
But you're still in that same area.
we were still living. Yeah, it was still the same county, and we were. My mom passed away before we got
okay, so,
married,
yeah.
and the reason why my wife had moved to Teaneck was because our goal was going to be to take care of my mom.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Mhm.
After we got married, and we never got the opportunity
Oh, I
to
see.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you know, God is taking care of her now. She's
Yeah,
good. So
yeah.
yeah.
So now you're married and you're both teaching in Teaneck?
We're both teaching
So
in
you're
Teaneck.
married, you're both teaching in Teaneck?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Then
then
what?
we both lost our jobs.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah,
How
2
did-
years later. Well, what happened was, you know, there was something happening in the state where the governor was really putting pressure on different municipalities in an effort to kind of break down teacher unions. And so because he was threatening to withhold funding, everybody was really scared. So they let go of all their non-tenured teachers. And I was just about to get tenure. And my wife had only been there for 2 years, so she was untenured. So all of us, everybody who was not tenured, got laid off. And so we were, you know, at that point, I was really questioning how long I wanted to teach. And my prayer to God was, Lord, get me out of here. Like,
Okay.
I really want to do something else.
Okay,
And I
all
was
right.
in ministry in New Jersey. I was an associate minister at my home church. I wanted to do ministry full time.
So you were teaching and an associate. Okay, so all right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
And so when we lost our jobs, I called my wife's pastor, former pastor, who had done our premarital counseling. And he had said to me, you know, it would be great to do ministry together one day. And I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, I don't know how that's going to happen because I'm perfectly happy in New Jersey. But then I lost my job.
Yeah,
So
right.
I said, hey, what about, you know, talking about doing ministry together? You know, maybe we could examine that again. And so I had a position as a youth minister at that church, and was there for several years.
So that was full time. So you're youth pastor there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was youth pastor there, and had the opportunity to go back to school, to seminary, and learn more. And,
Now, where'd you go to seminary?
I went to seminary. I started in New Jersey at New Brunswick Theological Seminary, and then when I moved to Connecticut, the 3-hour drive was killing me.
Yeah, that
So
would be a bit much.
I transferred to Alliance Theological Seminary in Nyack, New York.
Oh, Nyack. Okay, yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Oh, Alliance. Yeah, that's
Alliance,
right.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, why did you move to Connecticut?
For the job. So I
now
moved
for-
because I had gotten the position as a youth minister.
Oh, the youth minister was here in Connecticut.
It was in Connecticut. in
Oh,
Stamford,
okay.
Connecticut.
I thought you were still back in New Jersey.
No,
I need
no,
a
this
timeline
was
here.
yeah.
Okay.
This is in Connecticut. It's my wife's pastor from a kid. You know.
So now,
when
where
she
in
was growing up.
Connecticut?
So this was in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh, Stanford. Okay, so you're still
Fairfield
kind of
County.
close to New York,
Right.
or in
yeah.
the closer down there. Okay,
Right.
so you're in Stamford.
Right. So we're in Stamford, and we started doing ministry there. And we were there. I graduated seminary, became the associate pastor for a short period of time, and God called me to plant a church. And so we planted a church on the west side of Stamford.
Still in Stanford. Okay.
And we struggled, and COVID hit, and then we dissolved the church
yeah.
in 2021. And then I started looking for positions in Connecticut. I still felt called to Connecticut. At Alliance, which is a seminary sponsored by the Christian and Missionary Alliance denomination, I gotten to know a lot about the Christian and Missionary Alliance, and I really liked the denomination. And so in prayer, I was just, Lord, where should I go? And he directed me to the Christian and Missionary Alliance website, where I found the position at New River Church.
Okay, yeah. Now, what was Keisha doing all this time? Because she was in
Keisha
Stanford,
was teaching.
and she was teaching where?
So she taught in Norwalk,
Norwalk. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then when we left the Stanford area, we moved to New London, and she was teaching in New London. I was going to replant in New London, and just through prayer, I felt like the Lord telling me not to do it, and to look for this new position. And so we dissolved the church in New London, and then found the position here in Manchester, and then we made the move. So now she's going to be teaching in Manchester.
Oh, she's going to be teaching in Manchester.
Yeah.
Oh, because she was teaching in Hartford.
She was teaching in Hartford for a short period of time. Position opened up in Manchester. She applied, and she's going to be teaching in the middle school in Manchester.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's going to be convenient.
Yes.
And that's going to be like a 5-minute drive.
It is a 5-minute drive for me and for her. So this is the best commute we've ever had.
Because I remember when you first were, because I go to New River Church, that's where he and I met, but you were commuting from New London for a while. So
70 minutes.
Yeah, each way.
Each way.
Yeah. So that was a long commute.
Yeah, and it's over, thank God.
Yeah. Well, you can walk to work now.
I can, and I have, actually. Yeah, it's been great.
Great. Great. So now we're getting close to our time. Do you have something you'd like to leave us with, something short?
Get ready.
Okay.
Get ready. God is on the move, and I believe very strongly that in this particular season of life that we're in, God is going to be doing something very profound with young people, and so get ready to see what the Lord does, because it is going to be big.
Okay. All right. Well, Kenny, thank you for joining us. I learned some things I didn't know, and it's good to hear that Keisha's teaching in Manchester. And this is Mike May with Conversations. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.